Hello there, I'm Colleen.
I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
We're three nerds that met through our love of science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Of course, one of our favorites is George Lucas's signature achievement, Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So here we are with yet another Star Wars podcast, where each week we discuss one of the films in the current Star Wars canon.
From the sands of Tatooine to the levels of Coruscant, we cover it all. Yet another Star Wars podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and is part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Hey there, I'm Mr. Black.
And I'm Mr. Green. And we're a couple of guys who met in a comic book store.
Together we host the Pint O' Comics podcast, where we invite listeners to join us to talk about movies, TV, comics, music, or just whatever.
Starting very soon, we'll be joining up with the fine folks at Forgotten Entertainment for a special limited series called On the QT, where we talk Tarantino.
Every week for 10 weeks, a guest will join us to chat about every Quentin Tarantino movie, from Reservoir Dogs to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So join us starting in May 2021.
On the QT is available wherever you download your podcasts and is part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Hello there, and happy Life Day, everyone.
Happy Life Day!
I've already had some wine and I'm on a beer, so we're doing great tonight, guys. Welcome, Nerdy Knights of the Well-Rounded Table, to Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take extremely darky dives into our favorite fandoms. I'm Colleen McMillan, Jedi Master, Rebel Scum collaborator, and once again, crying into many tissues.
I am Pirate Jedi Anders Drew, but no matter what rank we carry, one thing will always remain constant. Much to learn, we still have.
Oh, so much to learn this episode, too.
There's a lot to learn.
How to deal with grief without crying, everyone. It doesn't work. This season on Bohemian Geek Studies, we're taking our detailed dorky dive into Star Wars Rebels. Today, we're diving into Season 4, Episodes 12 and 13, Wolves and a Door, and The World Between.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. The title is bad.
It is. Not work. That is a bad title.
All right. Well, we have done our best to scramble our signal, and we will be avoiding spoilers for the remaining 3 episodes of Season 4, but spoiler for the absolute rest of Star Wars canon, and I will throw in an adult content warning for the younglings. But without further ado, let's grab our Imperial disguises, enter the temple, and explore our holocrons of knowledge. Colleen, let's punch it and open up that first holocron.
Woo! Let's go. Our first holocron is the Journal of the Wills, where we go over the plot synopsis for this week's episodes, starting off with Wolves and a Door. For real, I have to do that every time, everyone. Otherwise, I will say Wolves at the Door. We pick up more or less where we left off last episode, Ezra is explaining to the Spectres that the temple is in trouble and that they have to help. Sabine wants to go to the temple in order to get more meaning from the symbols on the stone that Ezra got from the Wolves, and Hera agrees that they will do what they can for Kanan. It's what he would have wanted. Ezra calls the Loth Wolves to take them to the temple, much to the others' visual discomfort. Sorry, Chop. Woof, that sucks. They run through the fields and force walk back through the planet, where they hear several voices on the way, waking up on the other side of the planet.
Dun, dun, dun. So the temple's kind of become an excavation site for the Empire. This is very like Indiana Jones.
Very the British Museum is like stealing cultural treasures from other places.
Yeah. Empire, you know, you do what you can because you can. Anyway, Ezra and Sabine, they steal some trooper armor and they manage to infiltrate Minister Hayden, who is this weird, kind of creepy, hunched over hooded figure. He's being very, very protective of the ruins and all of the artifacts. And Ezra manages to pull off a pretty darn masterful Jedi mind trick to throw a Death Trooper off their scent. Like, this isn't like it's been played for laughs in the past that he can't quite get it, and Kanan always has to kind of end up doing it, but this time he straight up got it. Little boy's all grown up. The rebels intercept a call that was made to Hayden from the Emperor and listen in on him telling his master that they have made several promising discoveries, including ruins that match the artifacts from the Jedi archives, these pictures of the Mortise Gods. The Emperor really wants to know more, but says Kanan's death has altered Lethal's fate in unknown ways. Very important. If Palpy doesn't know what's going to happen, that's a significant detail.
Yes. very, which is why he's concerned. In the
Yeah.
Thrawn books, Palpatine really couldn't have cared less about Kanan. He was like, we'll get him eventually, like it's just another Jedi.
Yeah.
And now here he's like, actually Kanan Jarrus is very important, and he's altered the fate of Lothal. Craziness. Love it.
Yes. So Ezra
Palpatine.
and Sabine, they resolve to kind of just continue their search and their investigation.
The work continues, and Hayden has the floodlights focused on a mural of the Mortise Gods, which we will cover later. While he's attending to another issue, Ezra and Sabine study the mural. Sabine interprets the images and has Ezra, quote, do his thing. Great. He engages with the image of the daughter while Sabine stalls some guards. Scary. The painting begins to move. Really cool 2D animation.
Absolutely
here.
beautiful.
It's so stunning. The gold, the color, it's wonderful. The Loth wolves in the painting begin to run across the wall, away from the main painting, and form a circular gateway. Meanwhile, Hayden has captured Sabine and deduced who she is. Like, this is no good. Wondering where her friend is. He sounds the alarm and Ezra is discovered. Before he can be captured, Ezra enters the gateway.
Cut straight to the next episode, A World Between Worlds. Ezra comes through the gateway and into some kind of like strange dimension with several paths and a lot of other kind of doorways. Really kind of looks like it belongs in like the Rainbow Mario Kart level. Just like all these space.
I thought you were going to say the Rainbow Bridge from Thor. That could work.
I was actually about to say that, but I meant the Mario Kart thing. And I was like, wait, no, it's not the Rainbow Bridge, the Rainbow Track. Anyway, he's walking around and he hears a lot of voices echoing across time and space. Then we kind of cut back to the Imperial dig site. Hayden's questioning Sabine, saying that Thrawn has spoken very highly of her. And she's just like sarcastic, like, cool, nice flattery, bro. Anyway, Hayden wants to know how Ezra and she managed to open the gateway where he and the Empire have so far failed. And she has the best response of all time, just sitting there snarky and saying, I'm smarter than you. He doesn't fully take the bait, telling her the Emperor knows Ezra has entered the portal and will be able to find him. He tells Sabine that the portal is not just the doorway into the temple, but a doorway across all of time and space. Controlling it will give the Emperor control of all the universe. So stakes are pretty high.
Very high.
Meanwhile, Hera, Zeb, and Chopper start to plan their rescue for Sabine. And they hope Ezra, but they're not actually sure.
Right. They don't know where Ezra went. Like, we're going to try and find him later. Okay, so Ezra comes across a gateway with Morai perched on it. It leads to the moment at the end of Twilight of the Apprentice. He sees what happens to Ahsoka and Vader after he left the Sith Temple, but manages to reach through and save Ahsoka before the temple collapses. Yay! So good. Sabine is still stalling / taunting Hayden as he goes through the images he has collected of the Mortise Gods. When he gets more aggressive, she reveals that the pictures are a language, kind of like hieroglyphics. When he is skeptical, she repeats that she's smarter than him. We know, girl, we know, slay. Hayden sighs and has the troopers move to hold her in place because apparently the Mandalorian her will only respond to force. Rude.
Very rude. I hope we could be civil, but no, I'll just be a dick.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Ahsoka and Ezra are discovering where exactly they are, which is kind of everywhere and nowhere. Ahsoka deduces that it's a world between worlds, coining that nice little phrase. Ezra suddenly realizes that if he can save Ahsoka, he could also save Kanan. He can change it. He's determined, and finds the moment where Kanan died, and he says he can stop him from dying. And Ahsoka begs him not to, as this is exactly where and when Kanan needed to be. Pulling him out would kill the rest of the Spectres, and Ezra unfortunately needs to make the choice to let go, as hard as that is. Ezra gives in, letting go, and thus learning Kanan's final lesson to him. The entire reason he brought him here. The two, though, are discovered. Yeah, I'm trying to give Colleen space to cry as many times as she needs to this episode, guys.
I'm in my feelings.
The two are ultimately discovered, though, through another gateway by Palpatine using some kind of Sith magic. He is attempting to get a hold of Ezra to use him as a way into the portal. The two run, and Ahsoka helps hold off the Emperor. He's got these cool fire tendril things that he's trying to grab Ezra with. Ahsoka leaves to go back to her own place in the timeline, and Ezra manages to escape, resolving to close the portal and cut Palpatine off.
Yep, he's got to save the world between worlds, everyone. Back with Hayden, Sabine realizes that since the daughter opened the portal, the son will close it. Hera and Zeb cause one of the thrusters under the office to fire, throwing off everyone inside and allowing Sabine to escape.
I love that moment.
Great plan. So good. Ezra makes it back to Lothal, and with Sabine's advice, engages with the sun, causing the portal to close, the temple to begin collapsing, and Ezra to pass out promptly. The rebels escape the collapsing temple while the Imperials are all buried under the rubble. Goodbye. See ya. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. When Ezra wakes up, the temple is completely gone, sunken under the ground. Ezra confirms to Hera that Kanan is now truly gone. And he sees the white Lothwolf in the distance and says goodbye to his master one more time. It's fine.
Oh my God. All right. Well, let's get then into our second holocron, The Will of the Force. This is where we go through the theme or themes of these episodes. Colleen, start us off with the episodes.
Okay, we're going to start with episode 12. Our theme for that episode is having faith in each other. Every member of the Ghost Crew chooses to trust Ezra's interpretation of the wolves giving him the tablet from the temple. They're
Even
also
Zeb.
willing to just, I know, right? Yeah, well, Zeb's like, okay.
So a wolf gave you a stone with pictures on it, and that means we have to save the temple.
Yes.
Sure.
He's like, all right, we've done weirder shit. Let's just go. They're also willing to hop on board some of those wolves and go on a mysterious force walk, even though, once again, Zeb takes a little more time than everyone else to get on. That's a lot of faith to have in someone. And that's why this tight-knit family can get shit done, is because they have faith in each other. Hera also has to let go of her worry and concern and allow Ezra and Sabine to carry on with their mission. She has to think like the mission leader instead of a mom, which is like really sad, but also you got to let your kids grow up and go off on deadly missions by themselves. In Star Wars, at least. This is kind of a midpoint between the episodes. For both episodes, the theme, don't take Sabine for granted. Everyone, she's a tiny teenage girl, but yet she is mighty. She doesn't hesitate to get on the Lothwolf. She's brave. She trusts Ezra completely. Everything with Minister Hayden is fantastic. Like, he thinks that she's smart. Like, yeah, she's smart, but he thinks that he is smarter than her. Foolish mistake, old man. He appreciates her art and her knowledge of symbology, and then he's really easily manipulated by her. Like, really easily. It's kind of embarrassing for him. Whether this is because he underestimates her or he's so intent on just getting usable information for Palpatine, it's still a mistake. Like, dude, you needed to be watching her the entire time.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, mistakes were made. If he hadn't died in the temple collapsing, I'm sure Palpatine would have killed him. Or throw him in jail for a really long time.
Yeah. Send him to Mustafar for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Go to the lava planet and hang out with Vader. He's super fun.
Yo, he and Van A would have had a great time together.
Poor Van A. Oh my God, every single aide in the Empire, I cannot. Those people. People will do anything for their Empire. Episode 13, one of the most devastating things to ever happen in Star Wars. The theme is choice and consequences. There's a lot of devastation in Rebels, everyone. Let's just be fair. This one, though, the choices, consequences. Ezra's very interested in saving Kanan. Obviously, he wants to save his father figure, his teacher, his master. But Ahsoka says that Kanan found the exact moment where he had to do what he had to do. I mean, changing that moment would be devastating to the timeline, would be devastating to everyone. Even if they could have saved him, I think 2 people jumping out of a portal would have startled Kanan and might have caused the fire to kill everyone. So they might have been able to save him, but in this moment, Ahsoka knows, like, we should not be meddling with this. We should not be meddling with time. She also knows that she can't go back with Ezra to Lothal as things are unfolding the way they need to. Like, she needs to stay where she is and go on some other mission. How the hell she's going to get off a freaking Malachor is anyone's guess. The Jedi also almost lose the world between worlds to the dark side because in opening the gateway, Ezra left a path for Palpatine to follow. Like, Palpatine is obviously like has this thing low-jacked. He is waiting for somebody to get in so that he can sneak in behind them.
Yep. You do the work, and then I'll just walk right in and claim everything.
Exactly. Oh my God, he's Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And then getting into our series theme here, we have the bigger picture. It really does not get much more bigger than Emperor Palpatine being able to control time and space.
Yeah.
The
Not
rebellion, good. Pretty much the galaxy would be crushed if the Emperor got his hands on the world between worlds. Ahsoka and Ezra avert disaster by closing off this world to him, although his obsession with it is not about to just go away that easy.
This man built 2 Death Stars, everyone. His obsessions are not going to die.
And had a TIE Defender project. And was probably getting some stuff started for Starkiller Base. And was building a Sith fleet on Exegol. All of that was happening at once.
So many moving pieces. Plus all of the little, like, hideaway places he had. Artifacts and shit. A lot going on.
A lot of stuff going on.
He's busy. Okay.
All right, well then let's move right into our third holocron, the galaxy's populace. This is where we go through the characters and relationships from these episodes. So Colleen, who are some important characters for us?
Ezra. Our boy is really coming into the forefront at the end of the series. This is a huge progression for him. He's gotten to the point of directly asking the wolves for help. Great, particularly with travel, like he calls them with the Force. Wonderful. He also pulls out that Jedi mind trick that we mentioned flawlessly. Like, well done, my dude. He just steps up and gets it done. Also, Ezra coming to terms with the fact that he shouldn't mess with changing time is a huge milestone for him. I mean, he's 19, people. 19 years old, and he's realizing that there's bigger things out there than what he wants. Pretty damn big for a teenager. He proved that he's able to turn away from temptation, from taking the easy way out. This is almost like his final test as a Padawan. I think he'll have a couple more tests to come up. But at this point, it's almost like he's a knight. Like, he's almost just a Jedi Knight at this point. Being able to get into the world between worlds, avoiding the temptation, like, this is a big test moment, and Ezra passed. So good.
Yeah. And then we also... It is. Oh my God. And then we also have Sabine. Sabine's intelligence and her artistic sense are just on full display here. And again, I think Sabine just doesn't get enough talk. She does not get a lot of talk that she deserves. So I want to highlight here, you know, she's able to interpret those symbols in those paintings. She stalls the troopers. She outsmarts Hayden in the process. And again, whenever she says, "I'm smarter than you," I absolutely giggle to myself every single time.
Yeah.
And the relationship between these two is also kind of on full display here. The teamwork between Ezra and Sabine is absolutely incredible. Very worth noting that even though Ezra is the only Force user among them, it still takes 2 to open that gateway, just like it always did to open the temple with Kanan, as he never would have been able to do it without Sabine's intelligence.
Right. He still needed someone. Oh my God, is that completely different from most of what the Jedi teaches? What? It's almost like the Jedi Temple in Lothal knows some things. Okay, moving on to Minister Hayden, that piece of shit. This seeming dark side acolyte was originally planned to be Vinay, who is Vader's attendant in Rogue One, who also shows up in the Lego Star Wars Terror Tales, because yes, amazing. No word on why they changed it. Maybe the timeline didn't quite work properly. He seems to be a student of the dark side. He's just kind of as obsessed with this history stuff as Palpatine is. But he's limited by his own lack of vision. as Sabine is happy to point out to him numerous times. It's great. He's voiced by Malcolm McDowell. Perfection.
Absolutely.
I love Malcolm McDowell so much. It's so great to have him and Ian McDiarmid like dueling for cheese factor is fantastic. Hayden is actually one of Palpatine's advisors or ministers, which included Saint Pestage, who is a fairly big character in Legends. He is in Darth Plagueis. He's one of Palpatine's very trusted advisors, and he also shows up in canon in the book Tarkin. So Palpatine has a lot of these advisors who are off doing like secret random shit for him.
Yeah, there's another one that
Hayden's
shows
one
up
of
in
them.
the Aftermath trilogy, and I can't think of who it is. I can't think of the name, but
the one that's in like the temple at the end.
yeah.
Yes, him. And then Dorian from Legends is also one of his big time helpers.
And Mara Jade.
And Mara Jade. Yes, Mara, I think Mara's kind of off in her own universe, that she doesn't have to answer to anyone. But yes, she is definitely one of Palpatine's trusted acolytes.
All right, and then lastly, Ahsoka Tano returns. We had that really small tease at the end of Twilight of the Apprentice that Ahsoka survived that episode, but we never really knew how. I mean, at least Vader has some pretty heavy-duty armor to survive a building collapsing on top of him.
Plus, he's too angry to die.
Plus, yeah, he's just straight up too angry to die, and we know because of Maul that works. All right, now we get our answer, though. We know how she survived. She actually wasn't there during the collapse itself. And she also shows extreme wisdom in her just kind of like out of the box understanding of the world between worlds, and the implication of Ezra messing with Kanan's sacrifice is just really notable to show how intelligent she is, that she's just kind of like, nope, we should not be here.
No, this is bad. No, gotta get out of here. I love Ahsoka. She just grows so much from Clone Wars through Rebels into Mando, from what we hope will happen with her new series, which Dave Filoni is the creative force behind. Very curious to see how that's going to shake out. I'm sure we'll have many podcasts about it when it eventually comes out.
Oh yeah, we will be doing that. All right, well then let's move into our fourth holocron, Binding the Galaxy Together. This is where we go through our homages, Easter eggs, connections, callbacks throughout these episodes. So Colleen, start us off.
Excellent. We have twin moons, classic Star Wars trope in that opening. Instead of Tatooine's twin suns, though, we get to see both moons of Lothal in the sky. And that is, of course, Callus's little catchphrase when he was Fulcrum, was by the light of Lothal's moons.
We also get the return of the Force Walk. The travel of the wolves themselves makes that return, but while they're in transit, we get a lot of clips, primarily of Kanan from previous episodes in the series. We also get a clip of Hera, we get the Grand Inquisitor, and we get one of Ahsoka. And each moment that we see is very much a pivotal point for both Ezra and that featured character along their own respective journeys.
Yes, it's so cool. Everything that happens in this episode.
It's just so cool.
They're so good. Speaking of the wolves, we always mess up the episode title thinking it's wolves at the door. This is a popular idiom meaning that some sort of fierce hardship has shown up in your life. This is very true for Ezra. There's a lot of fierce hardships at his door, but the wolves are not the danger to him. It's the metaphorical wolves that are after him this time.
Yeah, still doesn't work. More on that with Flo later. Next, we get a little bit of an echo, a reminder of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Ezra uses that recording of Thrawn from the siege of Chopper Base to distract the guards.
Hysterical. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Good job. Him and Chop, like amazing. I love it. Next, we have the Emperor himself. Ian McDiarmid returns to voice Emperor Palpatine and to utter the classic Star Wars line, "There has been a great disturbance in the Force."
Yes.
Yes, there has.
And then,
so much.
Oh yeah.
So great.
And then we get the Mortise Gods. These characters have a very major role in the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars series. I'm going to say usually beloved, because I feel like when people don't like it, they like hate it. They really don't like it when they don't like it. But most people seem to like it. And they should. It's fantastic and amazing. And it is a very pivotal arc for Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Ahsoka. The daughter represents the light side of the Force, the son is the dark side, and the father is the balance. Maybe the father is Bendu.
Oh God, no. I mean, kind of. He's this kind of a dick the same way. He's like, Anakin, you're supposed to babysit my kids for all of eternity now.
Yeah, I'm out.
So I can go die. Like, what? I wouldn't want that job either.
After the events of that arc, the bird Morai becomes one of Ahsoka's symbols, which we get reminded of when Ezra points it out in the painting.
Yes. So Morai is the daughter, or the reincarnation spirit of the daughter. What does that mean, everyone? Ahsoka is the light side, everyone. Next, we have the daughter's words when Ezra activates the temple are, "We are the ones who guard the power. We are the middle, the beginning, and the end." Interesting. Big Bendu vibes there also.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have, while in the world between worlds, you can see / hear a lot of voices from throughout Star Wars, including, there's a lot here, guys. We're going to go through all of them. Yoda, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Qui-Gon Jinn, our dude, Ahsoka herself, Kanan, Maz Kanata, Chirrut, Imwe. Yes. I love him so much. Jyn Erso, Kylo Ren, Rey. Oh, it's just so good. The father, the daughter, Anakin again, Poe Dameron, Princess Leia Organa, and Vader. Get a lot.
They don't throw Luke in there, though. I find that
my
interesting.
favorite is the luminous beings quote. I love that quotation from Yoda. So good. So good.
Next up, we have the iconography and the symbols around the various portals in the world between worlds. Well, this is the first time we've been there. Those have been things that Star Wars has used before and has continued to use since. So when Ezra's meditating in the temple and has his actual face-to-face with that freaky version of Yoda, if you look at he seems to be kneeling on this like small circular platform that has kind of these runes around it. And in Mandalorian season 2, when Grogu is meditating at the temple on Tython, the stone he's sitting on has those symbols kind of carved around it. And some very similar looking symbols are represented in the logo for the upcoming Ahsoka series, which again, we will very probably extensively cover.
Yes, that is probably the series I'm most excited for. A lot of people are very excited for Kenobi.
Yeah.
Which I understand. But once they announced the Ahsoka show, I was like, sold. I'm ready. Okay, so this is actually a really cool part. Ezra's use of both the light side and the dark sides of the Force in this episode. In order to close the doorway to the world between worlds, Ezra, or to open the doorway, he uses his light side ability, which activates the daughter. But when it comes to closing the door, he needs to dig deeper and remember some of his training with Maul. The artwork of the sun glows red when he finally focuses enough and touches it. And Ezra passes out after using the power, which we saw back in season 1, when he used the dark side to draw up the Queen of the Fearnox. So those are some hints that he is using the dark side right now, which is really cool. He's balancing. He's balancing light and dark in this moment. And then the sun's final words to Ezra are, "The future by its nature can be changed."
Dun, dun,
which is actually kind of hopeful quote coming from the sun.
Yeah.
And the artwork as he sinks, the sun like lowers his head, like he is kind of sorry for the events that happened in the Mortis arc of Clone Wars.
Hopefully.
I know, right? I'm like, I really hope he feels bad for everything that he did. In the everyone please watch the Mortis arc of Clone Wars.
Seriously. And then lastly, we have the Master of Fate. So Ezra's very excited at the prospect of stopping Kanan's death. Very much like Anakin is obsessed with this. He says, he almost quotes Anakin, the idea of I can stop people from dying. Thankfully, Ahsoka's there to talk him down and help him let go.
Oh, they needed each other in that moment.
They really did.
Because I wouldn't put it past Ahsoka to also maybe think that way. But then Ezra's there and she's like, I have to help Ezra. I can't be thinking selfishly in this moment.
And also, I mean, also for Ezra, it's a pretty straightforward moment. Like, you pull Kanan out of the fire and he lives. I don't know how Ahsoka would exactly plan on saving Anakin.
Yeah.
She'd have to do some study first to be like, shit, what happened?
Yeah, which nexus point do I need to get to in order to change this moment? And then the Watcher would come down and be like, no, you cannot change this moment. This is a necessary moment. Sorry, that was a what if drop.
Before you know it, Star Wars zombies.
Oh my God. Actually, there is a book called Death Troopers. Oh my God. For all of you Halloween Star Wars people out there.
Well, before we move into our next Holocron, we're going to take a quick break to hear from this week's sponsors. Do you need a freelancer to help with your website? Either a designer, maybe you need someone to help write expert articles and blogs, or a presentation designer to help you with a big work project. Look no further than the #1 freelance marketplace, Fiverr. You can find designers, programmers, and more within seconds, some for as low as just $5 a gig. Fiverr is the ideal tool to help you with your pressing projects. Just post your gig for a freelancer and you're off. Don't deal with the hassle of finding freelancers by yourself. Let Fiverr help you. See the link in our show notes to get started. Please note, Bohemian Geek Studies is an affiliate partner of Fiverr. We may receive commissions on purchases and services you buy after you click the link. These commissions help support the growth of BGS, and we appreciate your continued support.
Okay, everyone, it is time to head into our 5th Holocron, the Newbie from Naboo. This is Flo's first time watching Rebels, her first time going into the world between worlds. We've tasked her with watching the episodes, giving us her takes and her questions, which I'm sure will be many and varied today.
Yes.
Because a lot of crazy shit happens in these episodes, everyone. So let's find out what our ambassador for Naboo thought about these wolves and these doors and these worlds between worlds.
Here's the thing. You already know how I feel about the wolves.
Yes.
So the wolves is an easy one. Okay, so let's get into it. Again, I watched this episode last time we recorded. So I watched it again last night because I forgot. So and then I started reading my notes and I was like, I don't even know what this means in my own notes. So I had to rewatch. So this episode is called Wolves and a Door, which honestly, like, not a good title. It's weak.
It feels like it's trying to reference, so like I'm trying to think of what it would be, but it sounds like it's like
Wolves at the Door should have been what the title was.
Yeah, it's like it's trying to play on like a famous movie title or phrase or something like that, but it doesn't quite work. I'll agree with you on that, Flo.
I think it's stupid. Okay, so we open up on the cutest little loft cat. Like, just being so cute. I'm obsessed with them. I think they're so cute. And next time we go to Batu, I need to go get one because they're adorable. Mm-hmm. They basically decide that there's something going on at the Jedi Temple. I'm not quite sure how they knew that the Empire had taken over the Jedi Temple.
That the wolves knew?
The wolves know.
The wolves told that.
How do the wolves know? Because they're just like roaming and they're like, we saw this.
They basically are connected to all of Lothal, so they know everything that's happening on Lothal.
Okay, so the wolves have told Ezra that the Empire is at the temple on Lothal, and then they like all put their hands and then like, for Kanan, which is very sweet. I do like that a lot. I actually wrote that in all caps, for Kanan. Then, okay. So my next note just says, is he going to trip balls again? Because Ezra is like on some shrooms right now. Like, and then I figured, I actually wrote this as a question before it happened. I said, ride wolves, ? Because they were like, how are we going to get there? We're on the other side of the planet. And I was like, well, this is pretty obvious. That whole part was very reminiscent of Harry and Buckbeak and the Thestrals. Like, especially when Sabine was approaching them, it made me think of like when Hermione approached like Buckbeak or the Thestrals, just like kind of wary, but also like being careful, like being respectful. So I really liked that a lot. I thought that was really cool. Zeb is scared of shit. In this analogy, Zeb is Neville. He's just like, oh God, I've got to ride this thing. Also, I love how they just like chomp on Chopper. They're just like, I'll carry you, bitch.
Yeah. Chopper's like, wait, what about me? Typical.
Yeah, seriously. So cute though. So they're riding these wolves. They're like running through the like dead grass or whatever. Mm-hmm. The soundtrack at this point is like super indigenous, like very tribal, tons of drums, which was really cool because it was more like the planet and less like civilization of like the empire with like more like, I don't know, more like electric sounding things. Like, I don't know. It was very like natural. I loved it. And then God knows what happened, but the floor must have given out and the wolves sink through the planet. So I wrote going through planet wormhole. I honestly, I don't know what happened, but the wormhole part was really cool. Like the voices in it were so cool. We got like tons of season 1 quotes, especially of Kanan, which was amazing. It was really cool. I really liked it. So that was cool. And then of course they get out and they're like, did you hear those voices? And it's like, yeah, we all did. We were all here with you. Okay. So they get to the temple area. Chopper does the best prank of all time and does a hologram of Thrawn, which was so funny. That was so good. And they stole the trooper uniforms for Sabine and Ezra. I wrote, Chop, you brilliant son of a bitch.
What would they do without Chop?
Honestly, I don't know.
Seriously.
It was so good. At this point, they don't have the wolves. The wolves, for some reason, like can't get too close. So they have to like walk there. Why can't the wolves get closer? Why can't the wolves help? Why can't the wolves like chomp?
The wolves are, I mean, even among the Lethal people, the wolves are like practically myths. Like no one's seen them for like 1,000 years.
Very skittish. Like real wolves.
They're skittish. They're kind of like, they're mythical. They're mythical kind of. They're like if you read like ancient Greek myths and things, and it's the woodland spirit or something. It never actually like comes in close, but people still like out in nature have interactions with it.
It's like a guide. A guide.
Okay, but like, aren't they like protectors of the planet?
Yes. But a lot of times they can't, because I mean, they're wolves. They wouldn't really be able to do much. They'd just the camp.
They're huge. They could eat like every single person there.
Right. But Imperials would just send more people. I mean, it would be, and I don't know how easy they are to kill. I mean.
Okay. I guess that's a good point. Like, but I feel like they can disappear. So I don't know. Whatever. That was just like, it was kind of weird. They're like, now we have to go on foot. It is a little
strange. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was weird. So then we get this like weird ass medieval looking cloaked man who's like Minister like Hayden or something like that, right? Okay, Hayden. Nailed it.
Yeah.
He looks weird as shit. Like, I don't know where this guy came from. I don't know who like did his wardrobe, but he is fucked. He looks so bad.
Yes.
Ezra and Sabine get caught like touching symbols and they get in trouble. Sabine ends up like, good thing she's sticking with Ezra because Ezra uses his Jedi mind trick to like get out of trouble, which was great. And they head over. What?
Very skillful on his part.
Honestly, amazing.
On a Death Trooper too. Like,
that was really good. I was very impressed. Then they like go over to like go look at the art stuff. But in the meantime, we get creepy monk man talking to Palpy. Okay. I'm going to get more into my Palpy issues in the next episode. But I feel like overall, it's hard for them to throw Palpatine at us now when he has not really been a figure in Rebels.
No, not like yet. He wouldn't bother himself with whatever the hell's going on in the outer room.
Right. So this confusion continues into the next episode. So I'm going to save a lot of it because I feel like I've got a lot to say about the next one. But this felt a little bit thrown in. Just like, oh, look, let's throw in the Emperor. Okay. then they start talking about the Mortise Gods. Now,
yes, I was like, oh fuck.
I understand that this came up more in Clone Wars. Is that correct?
Yes, you have been very resistant
arc.
to watch Clone Wars. Now, we have tried to get you to watch it several times, and we've even attempted multiple times to just kind of give you a highlights reel, like, no, do these episodes, these arcs. The Mortise arc is
one. Okay.
Is one of those arcs.
See, the issue is like I'm very much a completionist, and so like I really struggle to just like pick and choose because I feel like I'm missing stuff. Now I understand I'm missing the whole thing right now, so I'm struggling.
I think you would really like the Mortise arc because it proves that Anakin is the chosen one.
Okay, I mean,
definitively
like
proves that.
Okay,
and it's very self-contained.
I promise I will watch it.
Yeah, it's very self-contained, and everybody's there. It's like Obi, Anakin, and Ahsoka.
But I don't want it to be self-contained because I want to see I want to see everything, but
you
I
don't want to
watch
it
better. Yeah, I need to watch it. I need to push through. I did make it through a lot of it. I need to keep going because I know it's going to get better. It's just
you need to get to the sexy Force witches. They're hot.
Okay, I will try. I will try again. I promise. So. Whatever, they just like throw in this mention, which I think is like a little bit tough for people who have not watched all of Clone Wars because they just kind of threw this in. Okay, so there's something about it being a conduit between the living and the dead at some point, right? Like, I don't even know where that came up. Things are like happening like crazy, right? So Sabine is like deciphering this art, and for some reason she's some sort of savant. And she's like, I know exactly what this means.
She's very good at art interpretation.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, but like part of how art works is that there's numerous interpretations.
Yes.
So
she's going off the key that the wolves gave her, which I think is the only
rock, paper, scissors.
Rock, paper, scissors, the hands.
Yeah, that's the only reason she's able to decipher it as well as she can, like what to do. I think she'd realize that it was like archetypal figures, but otherwise she'd be like, I don't know what to do.
I just felt like it was a little bit of a stretch that she just like knew what to do, and just by like looking at it for like 2 seconds, like she's not an art history major. I don't actually know like how much.
Yeah, she actually might be.
All right. I mean, I don't feel like the Empire paid for her studies or like would let her study art.
Her dad's an artist.
Palpatine might have because he's obsessed with history and art.
All right. I mean, because we didn't see it, I struggle to believe it, but
yeah, we want the story. I mean, we want Sabine in art school, like for real.
I do. I want Sabine painting nudes. I don't know. I want the whole thing. Anyways, I think my favorite part of this episode, and I was trying to find some stills of it just yesterday. I was like randomly like looking for pictures or whatever. The part in which so Hera and Zeb are kind of out of this episode, right? They're standing watch, and Sabine and Ezra, they page in or whatever, and they're like, hey, like, we need to try and get in. Like, we cannot abort this mission, like, at all. Like, we can't walk away from this. And Hera is obviously, like, very reticent to agree to that because she has just lost Kanan. And Zeb's like, you know, like, the kids are going to be okay. Like, we're going to be okay. And Hera says, like, I used to believe that. And that was very powerful. But then through all that, we see Kanan, who's obviously not there. And like, she's not a Jedi. Like, he's not a Force ghost. She's just remembering him. And like, we're seeing it kind of through Hera's mind. He's just like there, like putting his hand on her shoulder and like reassuring her that it's going to be okay. And that was like, that's amazing. Like, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I loved that. I just thought that was so great. And I think like we all miss Kanan. Like, Hera's loss is our loss in this. And I think it's really great. And I'm going to touch back on that in the next episode because I have a non-parallel parallel. So hold on to that thought. Okay, then we see one of the fucking lizard people who drives me insane. And I'm like, why are you here?
With
Get
the voice.
Fuck out. I can't stand you. So I wrote fuck the lizard people. Okay, so again, I understand this is a Clone Wars thing, but like Ezra starts talking about like every time Ahsoka was here, this hoot hoot was here.
Morai.
Yeah.
Which that's true in Rebels as well. Pretty much every time Ahsoka is on screen.
Well, like, why would I notice that?
I mean, they focus on it a few times.
I mean, I don't know.
She's Morai, I think, is more in Rebels than in Clone Wars. Maybe evenly split after the last season, but for the most part, she's mostly in Rebels.
I just feel like I've never noticed her or cared about her, or it's like never been brought up until this moment where Ezra's just like, every time I saw Ahsoka, I saw this bird. And it's like, okay. Like,
I think if you go back and rewatch all the episodes of Ahsoka's, and you'll notice, you'll be like, oh shit, the bird just.
100%.
Like, there's that freaking bird.
100%. But I just feel
with
like
the loft cats at one point, I think.
I just feel like, and I'm going to cut them some slack because I figure they don't know how many seasons they were going to get. But I feel like if you wanted me to pay attention to something, point it out a couple times. Be like, weird bird, or like, whoo, whoo. I don't know, just like, give me a little something. Like, I don't know. So anyways, then like Ezra is able to put hands on the stone and the thing moves and the wolves peace out and they start spinning in a circle and making a vortex.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the mural moving looked very cool. I thought the Mortise Gods talking looked very cool. I just thought the animation on that was sick.
Yeah.
So I loved that. They make a little gateway portal. We see Ezra kind of like hesitantly touching it. He's very into following the wolves, so at least he does that. Sabine gets caught, which that was tough. I was like, fuck, that blows. And then basically Sabine is like, go Ezra. Ezra goes through, Gregorian chants swell, and that's how the episode ends. I do wonder, like, could Sabine have gone through? Could she have gone through with Ezra? What if he was touching her?
Possibly if they were touching.
Okay. So
possibly.
Because to me, it felt like very kind of like apparition-y in Harry Potter, where like, I wonder if she could have like mistakenly like side-alonged with him, which I think that would have changed a lot of what happens next.
Potentially, yeah.
But anyway, Sabine gets caught. Poor Hera, she must be beside herself.
Yes.
And Ezra pieces, and then we go to the next episode.
Whew.
Did I miss anything?
You did not.
Okay, good, because we're about to have a long chat.
Stormtroopers not wanting to file paperwork.
Yeah, well, also the stormtroopers like running head first into the wall was kind of hilarious. Okay, are we ready?
I think we're ready. Flo, what are your takes and notes on the World Between Worlds?
Okay.
World Between Worlds.
So episode 13, A World Between Worlds. It opens up with a lot of voices. We get like a similar kind of vortex situation, right? With like just a lot. Like a lot is being thrown at us. My favorite that's thrown at us, of course, is Yoda from Attack of the Clones. Truly wonderful, the mind of a child, which is like one of my favorite quotes. And I should really get it like put onto a shirt for me to go teaching in because I love it so much. Ezra lands in Tron. I'm not quite sure where he lands.
He's been here before.
Yes, and we can talk about that. Again, this is going to be one of those things where I feel like if they, obviously we've been here with Yoda in the temple where Yoda spoke to Ezra. There were a bunch of stars. I wrote, Ezra is in Space Mountain, ? It looked like that because it looked like a track. Like it looked like a weird roller coaster going on.
Yes.
So, yes, we have been here before, but again, they didn't tell us enough. And I feel like this is my issue with Rebels is that, and we're going to get more into this as the episode goes on, but they drop things and then they just leave it or like expect me to get it.
Everything comes back.
I know, but like, I'm not that smart, maybe. Like, I feel like you need to give me a little bit more. So anyways, let's keep going.
They could have seeded it a little bit better. On the rewatch, it's
Yes.
much more apparent. Like the first
Sure.
watch, you're kind of like, what the F is happening?
And that's
then
kind of
on a
where I
rewatch,
was.
And you're like, holy shit, Dave Filoni is a genius. But that
Yes.
first watch is like, what?
Yes, and how many people are actually rewatching? Like obviously us, but like for the average like again, let's just remember that this was a quote unquote kids show on Disney XD.
Yeah.
Like how many of these kids are going back and rewatching and being like, oh my God, can you believe these Easter eggs? Like
No.
No.
They're more accepting too, though, of crazy shit happening.
Yeah.
Like, I think a kid would be
That's
like, all
true.
right,
That's
you went
true.
through a portal. Seems
That's
cool.
a great point. Great point.
Whereas
and then when we
we're
hit
like,
syndication and mom and dad have to watch this like every night at 5 o'clock, 5 days
That's
a
right.
week, then they're like, oh, actually, you know what? I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing there.
I see it here.
I see you, Dave.
I thought what was really interesting in this was the extremely jumbled nature of the 3 trilogy quotes that we get here. It's just like, you don't even like know, it's so jumbled. Like you don't know where he is in the timeline at all because it's all just like flying at him. Like you hear Rey, you hear Anakin, you hear Yoda, like you hear Obi-Wan. It's just like, what is happening?
Yes.
Which I actually really liked that. I thought that really added to a nice link to the existing canon and a very confusing place. It just added to the confusion of the place, which I really, really liked.
Very discombobulating.
Very. So at the same time, Sabine is still a captive. She is sitting with fucking crazy ass minister man who's serving her tea from like a very like Asian looking teapot. I was like, this is an interesting design for this teapot. I was very fixated on this teapot. I don't know why. I was like, anyways. So he's serving tea. They are having a very civilized art talk. It kind of reminded me of In the Office where they have the Finer Things Club. This is like Sabine and the minister's Finer Things Club.
All they need is Thrawn.
That's right.
They have a club.
So they're doing that. And the minister ends up telling Sabine that Palpatine will find Ezra, almost like a warning. Like Palpatine knows that Ezra is there, which I don't really know how he would, whatever. I don't know how he knows that. And he tells her Ezra is not safe, quote, beyond the veil. Now, as a Harry Potter fan, the words beyond the veil mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
Spoilers for those of you who are many years behind on your just content of where you should be in the world. But if you did not read Order of the Phoenix, I recommend that you stop here and go read it. But of course, we know Beyond the Veil as Sirius falling beyond the veil in the Department of Mysteries, a veil where we assume the dead go. Although it's not super, super explained, Harry can hear the voices beyond the veil.
I mean, it is called the Death Chamber.
It is. I mean, again, we don't know very much about the veil.
We don't.
It's never really explained, similarly to how this is not going to be explained either.
The mysteries of death should remain mysteries, which is both the lesson of Harry Potter and Rebels.
Absolutely. And there were tons of parallels here, which we are definitely going to hit upon. But I thought that was just a really interesting way for them to put it. And I really, really liked it. Okay. So I believe it's creepy Minister Man who says that like, this is a pathway between all time and space, and whoever controls this space controls the universe. That's pretty big. It's like kind of a big deal that Ezra's there.
Yes.
So Ezra's walking, he's on this like path, he's in the stars. All of a sudden he sees the owl sitting on what appears to be honestly the Deathly Hallows. Like it's pretty wild. The Harry Potter nods in this are insane. And he's like, you're with Ahsoka, like, you know, tell me more or whatever. And the like window that he's on lights up, basically like it turns on, and it is Ahsoka fighting Vader. At the end of what? Season 2?
Season 2, Twilight of the Apprentice.
which was an amazing episode, as we will all recall. So we see Ahsoka. She's fighting Anakin as Vader. And Ezra sees that she is about to lose and physically pulls her through the quote veil and takes her into the world between worlds. Okay. There's a lot of questions here that I have.
Yeah.
A lot of them have to do with fate. Like, how does fate play into this? Was Ezra always going to pull her? Did Ezra affect the past? Was this, timelines kind of running with each other, kind of like more in a Marvel sense, where like there's multiple timelines all happening at the same time? How does the TVA feel about this?
I think the TVA's offices are in this space.
I think they probably are. So, yeah, I mean, my question, I guess, was, did Ezra save Ahsoka in the past from the present? Is this even the present? Does this exist suspended somewhere else that's not time or space?
Sort of. It's like this
all time, all space.
Yeah. Basically. This is a means of accessing all time and space, kind of like
Nexus. I mean, it's
a nexus point. It's a what's the one? Interstellar?
Yeah.
Did you see Interstellar?
No.
Like that.
But I mean, I can understand what this is.
Are you a Doctor Who person?
Something that
Sorry, I'm only nerdy about very certain things.
Shouldn't have access to.
but no, I think the TVA is kind of a solid,
very similar.
It's a solid parallel here. Like, while you are in this space, like what you're perceiving is obviously physical space, but it exists outside of time and space. And each one of these doorways leads to like a specific instant in time and space.
So I guess the next question I have is, does Ezra save her every time?
We don't know. I mean, as far as this timeline is secure, because at the very end of this episode, they show Ahsoka heading towards that triangle, which she went toward in Twilight of the Apprentice. So at least this is intact, but there could be times where he doesn't.
I think in terms of, I mean, if you want to get into like full-on multiverse thing, then maybe, but in terms of the Ezra that we know, that we are following, if you think of his personal timeline that like always moves with him, that he is perceiving time, yes, he saves her every time, I think, is the simple answer.
His gut reaction.
I'm going to save my next point for the very end, because I think it's my overarching point of this episode. So I'm just going to keep going through the episode, but just know, like, I have a lot more questions about this. Okay. So we go back. Sabine is still having tea. They're still having their art discussion. They talk about the Mortise Gods, father, son, and daughter. Sabine loves to throw how much smarter she is than the minister guy, until finally he gets pissed and is like, we're done.
That's like one of my favorite parts. So she's just like, I'm smarter than you, dude.
I'm smarter than you, don't forget. Right. Then we go back to Ahsoka. We go back to Ezra. And honestly, just like any time that Ahsoka just says the name Anakin, my heart just like explodes. I mean,
so her and Anakin are so good.
They're so good. And just the fact that like that's still who she considers him.
Yeah.
That's like so important. And I think Ahsoka, like, again, I didn't see all of Clone Wars, but I did see some of it. And I think just like the bond between Ahsoka and Anakin was very strong. And I think Ahsoka really saw Anakin in a way that other people didn't. And I think the fact that like she's holding on here to like, this is Anakin still. Like,
okay. The first one to still have faith in him.
Yeah. I mean, besides me, I still have faith in him.
Well, yes. Besides Flo.
Right. So then she throws out that like Kanan is possibly working through this wolf. I did have a question. We see constellations kind of around them. One of them is the wolf. The other one was like a snake. What was the snake one?
I think that's one of the Sith symbols, maybe. I'd have to go and relook at it.
Interesting. Because like the wolf was obviously, that was obvious. But like the snake one, I was like, what the hell is a snake? So anyways.
Well, that could be the chimera. It could be Thrawn.
Oh, okay.
Symbology.
It's the crate dragon from Mandalorian when they blow up the dragon.
Crate dragon. Flo loves the crate dragon.
For those of you who are only listening to this, I just flipped them off. I hate the crate dragon so much.
It's a graboid from Tremors. It's a Kevin Bacon reference.
Perfect. If you would like to hear my takes about the crate dragon episode, please listen to our Mandalorian coverage. Spoiler, really hated it.
It's great. I love that episode.
Oh God. Okay. So then they walk. They're walking. They get to the Kanan window. They get to the end of Kanan's life. And automatically Ezra does what I think we all would do. Mm-hmm. The extremely human nature thing of I can save him. Like I can change this. And Ahsoka says you can't. Like you can't stop him from dying. If you do that, you will all die. So again, this was so Harry Potter. Yeah. This was so Anakin moving towards the dark side. Like being unable to accept death is both human, but also wrong. Yeah. Because death is a natural part of life and it's very hard to accept, but it's something that we all have to move towards, I guess, and find peace with, which Anakin couldn't do, right? And so that is what took Anakin over to the dark side. He could not save his mother. He could not save Padme. We're going to continue that thought as I go into the rest of my thoughts. But basically here, Ezra is able to pull back in a way that Anakin could not, in a way that Harry did, but that took so much effort, in a way that Voldemort could not.
No.
Right. So
Ezra is a very unique person in the galaxy. Maybe one of the only people that could have done that.
Yeah. I mean, this was huge. I do think I would have liked to see a little bit more struggle. I think he listened to Ahsoka a little bit quickly, and obviously like we are, there's a runtime here, right? But
more minutes would have been great.
Yeah, a couple more, like maybe just a little bit more anger, or like maybe at himself, or anger at Ahsoka for telling him this, or like maybe just a little bit more. I needed a tiny bit more, but overall it was really excellent. I thought it was very poignant. I thought it was heart-wrenching. Like we didn't want to see that moment again. We don't want to see Kanan die. Like it was the worst. And basically here, Ahsoka finally gets him by saying, you can't save your master and I can't save mine. And I was just like, oh man, that is rough. Because of course at this moment, Anakin cannot be saved. He will be saved later by his son. Spoiler, if you have not watched the original trilogy.
Luke Skywalker, everyone.
Yes, meet Luke. It's hard. I mean, this is hard for both of them. I'm sure Ahsoka wishes that she could reach in and change some things in the past for Anakin.
Yes.
But they can't. And so they let go. And it was really beautiful. That was really emotionally stunning, visually stunning. It was really great.
Yes. I love that they got to have it together.
Yes.
Like these
I fully agree.
Lost Padawans find each other. I'm like,
yes. Agreed fully.
Everyone, I am actually crying, so that if you're not watching on the YouTubes, I will have to get a Kleenex after we're done with this section.
I'm sure.
Like full on crying. Fine. This episode gets me every single time when he lets Kanan go.
I think you're going to stop crying in a second because this is where the episode loses me.
I'm going to get it back for you.
Okay. So, devoid of my comments, here's what happens here. Another window kind of like lights up, and it is Palpatine over a cauldron, looking like the evil queen in Snow White. he is summoning from the cauldron some like purple flames. Okay, so he's got purple flames going. The flames rush towards Ahsoka and Ezra. Ahsoka is able to hold them back for a bit. Then Ezra joins in, pushing them back with the Force, we assume. They're not super successful, and like it's not like them pushing the flames back. It's not like when Mace Windu like takes the lightning and throws it back. Like they're not affecting Palpy in any way.
Palpy's too strong.
Yeah, they're just like, it's basically just defense at this point, but they're not attacking in any way. They end up running, which like we kind of see interspersed between Zeb and Hera saving Sabine. So like we kind of have like a hard time following what's going on, but basically Zeb and Hera save Sabine, a building falls over, they like barely make it out. But we see like a tiny bit of that, but most of it is this Palpy throwing flames at them. This felt very like, this is the boss level of a video game. Like,
yes, it is.
You're there with like your teammate and you're like running and you're like, whatever. Basically, Ahsoka jumps back through her window and ends up back at the Sith temple where we have seen her. And Ezra, in a very close call, makes it back to his window and jumps back into the temple on Lothal sort of area. Chop comes in super clutch here. He like destroys a bunch of troopers, or else like Ezra would have been fucked. They would have all been fucked if Chop hadn't been there.
Yep. He's driving like a freaking crane.
Yeah, he comes in, he just demolishes people. Then, like, I don't even remember who said this, but I wrote, the future can be changed. Did Ezra say that?
No, the son. The son says that.
Oh yeah. When he's like closing the door.
Sam Witwer, my man.
Okay. So then they have to close the portal, right? Even though I'm a little bit confused because can anybody else get through?
Palpatine.
But he already went through.
He knows about it
now.
Go
through.
He can't go through. He would have had to have touched Ezra to go through. That's why he was trying to flame grab Ezra back to him, because his hand is almost through the portal, but then Ezra gets free, so Palpy's like brushed back. So it's almost he's doing some weird Sith magic shit that they kind of go over in the novel Darth Plagueis, like messing around with arcane magics, and Palpatine is really into that shit. And he really wants to get into this space.
Yeah, very much.
He's monitoring it all the time.
Interesting. But I don't feel like that was super obvious in this.
No,
it's not.
It's not.
Okay.
I kind of got the
Hayden
sense
said that he would be able to find Ezra. That's like the only clue they give.
Yeah, I always kind of had the sense that he can't just walk through. He had to have something on the other side of the door to kind of lock onto.
Right. Like
that he could like pull himself through.
But he could have walked through the portal himself.
If he got a hold of Ezra. Yes.
Right.
So he needed Ezra.
Yes.
Yes.
And he could not use Ahsoka.
I don't think so, because Ezra's the one who opened the portal.
And also, he didn't necessarily know Ahsoka was there at first.
Okay.
Also, we know, I mean, as far as he knows, Ahsoka's a lot stronger than Ezra.
Yeah.
Right.
He saw Ahsoka grow as a Padawan during the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Tried to kill her. Thanks, Palpatine.
Couple times.
So then the temple collapses.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I had to write the following note. My temple! It's broken! That was all I could think about when that was happening. It was very funny. Of course, it wasn't funny that the temple collapsed, but anyways, whatever. Then we get a voiceover, I think, of Kanan. And Kanan tells Ezra, the Force will be with you always. And it's just like, man, that was intense.
Real mean, Dave Filoni.
Yeah, that was very mean. The temple is gone. Hera and Ezra go out, and there's just like a marker there. And that's it.
Yeah.
Hera says Kanan's really gone now, ? And Ezra says, yes, he is, like very definitively. We see the wolf in the distance. Ezra says bye, and Ezra walks away. And that is like probably the closest I've come to crying.
It's such a beautiful shot too.
It's a gorgeous shot. It's gorgeous.
So by closing the temple, he destroys it. Like that's what he's destroying the gateway into the world between worlds. But there are other gateways. Like,
okay.
We haven't seen any, but according to the painting, there are other gateways.
This is where I have a lot of thoughts.
Lot.
I don't want people to get me wrong. This episode was beautiful. And there were a lot of really important parts of it. The most important, of course, being Ahsoka and Ezra letting go of their masters together. Beautiful, necessary, 100%, do not get me wrong. But my question is, was this episode necessary?
Yes. And you will find out why.
Yeah.
Will I find out why in Rebels?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because right now, this episode does not feel necessary to me, and I have not watched ahead this week at all. This episode does not feel necessary to me because it feels like, first of all, I didn't know about this world between worlds. I don't know if that...
This is brand new for Star Wars.
So while I appreciate like new lore, which I do, I don't know that this is what I wanted. This feels, and okay, the main point of this was that Ezra saved Ahsoka. Okay, so Ezra was able to save Ahsoka through this portal situation where he pulled her out. We knew, though, sort of, that Ahsoka was alive.
We knew now.
Okay, but the issue here, regardless, whether she was alive or dead or not, is they stopped mentioning Ahsoka. Like, Ahsoka was basically written out of the show. So I stopped caring about Ahsoka a long time ago, whether she was dead or alive, which I assumed she was alive. Again, I've seen Mando, so like, I kind of knew she was alive, obviously, which is like a spoiler in itself. But regardless, I didn't care because they stopped caring about her. Now, if they had done something more like what they did with Kanan, where it was like brought up, there was mourning, there were frequent references to her. Obviously, Kanan just died, but like
more Rex. Like they needed more Rex.
Yeah. I needed some people to mourn Ahsoka. They stopped mentioning her, so I stopped caring. So the fact that he saved her is like, oh, okay, like that's cool, but like I really did not care. Now I understand I don't have the same like attachment to Ahsoka as Clone Wars watchers would. Like I respect that fully, but within Rebels, like it still has to hold up. And this did not hold up to me in terms of me caring about Ahsoka. Rebels did not make me care about Ahsoka.
No, it's all from Clone Wars.
Right.
For real.
So that to me is a failure of the show. Just in itself. And the show is amazing. Like I'm really, really enjoying the show. And I'm almost done, obviously. And like, this is some of the best Star Wars content I have seen. And this is an issue in many of the Star Wars IPs. Like many of our canon stories have this issue where it's just like, you expect me to care because you expect me to have watched something else. But to me, things need to hold up on their own a little bit. Like and this did not. Yeah. So that was one of my issues. My other issue is this feels like a time turner situation in Harry Potter, where this is introduced.
Always dangerous to do time travel.
So dangerous because this becomes like kind of a panacea for anything that happens. Well, we can go back and we can change it. So she who must not be named, the author of Harry Potter, struggled with this because basically like, well, if we can save Buckbeak and we can save Sirius, then why are we not saving Harry's parents? Why are we not like killing Voldemort when he's an infant? Why are we not saving Dumbledore? Spoiler. Why are we not saving Sirius? Like, why are we not doing all these things? So eventually she had to say, you know, all the time turners were destroyed in the battle at the Department of Mysteries. Of course, then we get them back in Cursed Child, which is a huge issue in Cursed Child. that like all of a sudden we're changing all of the past timeline. This feels like that. And this feels like either people did not know, which obviously Palpy knows, which means other people knew, which means somewhere in the Jedi lore this exists, or the Jedi are so much more fucked up than I ever thought that they would not tell Anakin this, because this is all Anakin ever wanted. Like, this is so fucked to me that this would exist and that they would not be like, hey, you actually could save your mom.
It takes a lot to get in there. You have to earn the right to get in. So it is very difficult to access.
And
it still exists. Like,
it exists, but how many?
I don't know how many Jedi knew about it. I mean, there's not very much on World Between Worlds lore. Like, I don't even know if Yoda really knew what was happening. He just was like, all right, I'm gonna go with this.
Yeah. Like Palpy found it in some ancient Sith text, I'm assuming. But
if they did know and didn't tell Anakin, I mean,
I can assume that they wouldn't tell any. I can assume that they wouldn't tell anybody, because the actual lesson is not. No, yeah, you can go back and save your mom.
No, 100%, right? That is the lesson.
Go back and save.
100%, that is the lesson, and that is what we learn here in this episode, right?
But he doesn't get a choice to do that. He doesn't get a choice.
Not only does he not get a choice, like Ezra has to go through this trial, Ahsoka has to go through this trial to let go.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they would know that this exists and that could even be a possibility, that even by accident, Anakin or any other Jedi potentially could fall into, like Ezra fell into it, he had no idea where he was going, that they could fall into it and be faced with that choice and be unprepared to make that decision, that they would not be training their Jedi to be letting go in a way that feels appropriate, instead of just saying like, well, you can't have attachments, so fuck you.
Right.
Like,
they're trying to shortcut it.
And it's like, this isn't working. And the fact that if they knew this existed and they still continue to shortcut that is fucked. And that is what gave us Darth Vader. And that is what turned Anakin. And that is what broke my heart. And I'm not here for it.
I mean, it's a huge problem with the Jedi and the no attachments, the no being able to feel love besides compassion. Like, and that's, I think a lot of
love is what saved Ezra here.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. The fact that Ezra walked away because he loved Kanan enough to say, this is what Kanan wanted. Kanan wanted to protect the rest of us. This is what Kanan laid his life down for. This is the only thing that justified Kanan's death, is that he died for this. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Ezra understood that and understood that level of love is what saved him here.
Yeah,
it is.
That's what the Jedi forgot.
Mm-hmm.
They forgot somewhere along the line. They forgot that they were supposed to feel emotion.
It just makes me so sad, because every step of this way, you know, I see a lot of Anakin in Ezra.
Yeah.
And this is how Anakin could, obviously because of the prophecy or whatever, being the chosen one, he couldn't have. But without that, he could have been Ezra. He could have made that choice. He could have walked away. He could have loved his mother enough to walk away and not let her have died in this way. He could have not avenged her death like this, because that's not what Shmi would have wanted. He could have let Padme go, because had he let her go, she would have lived. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this could have been Anakin.
It could have.
But it wasn't. And I'm so distraught by it. And my other issue with this episode is we have 3 episodes left?
Yeah. 1 and a 2-part finale.
You can't throw this episode at me with 3 episodes left, because I'm not going to get and you guys have already verified, like, I'm not going to get the explanations that I want in this. Like,
not completely. It's very Department of Mysteries for Harry Potter.
Yeah.
This to me feels more than that, because Harry Potter had a lot of pages. And like, while we never quite understood everything that happened in the Department of Mysteries, we saw enough that we could piece it together. This feels like Game of Thrones season 8, where they introduced things, the Golden Company, for example, They introduced important things that they then ran out of runway for and just dropped. So,
and that's possible. Definitely possible. I'm very
curious to see what you'll think about the end.
I'm excited. I mean, this came out many years ago at this point, and we have not seen this again. We have had content since then, quite a bit of content. And I don't know if this is in books.
Back to it. I think they're going to go back to it with Ahsoka.
I hope so. The issue
can't say anything else,
but we don't know.
Without spoiling the family.
I mean, the issue for me remains, and this was the issue with Game of Thrones. This was the issue with some of Harry Potter, absolutely, is that you cannot be dependent on so much other parts of the IP that you don't let this stand alone at some point. Like, I understand that they may be going back to it with Ahsoka. They might make an Ezra series. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? They might make a whole thing about the Mortise Gods. I don't know. I'm not in charge.
Please give it to us.
But I have to feel some sort of like closure and resolution when I end this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to, or else to me, they have failed. Just like this was the issue with Game of Thrones season 8. Again, I'm going to go back to it. A lot of people felt like they did not get the resolution that they wanted after investing 8 seasons into a show where the front end was beautiful and we got time and we got all these arcs and everything was like setting up to be beautiful, and like then it just wasn't. They dropped the ball at the last minute. They didn't give themselves enough time at the end, which is what I'm feeling is happening here. And it's very frustrating because I want to know everything. I am a Ravenclaw. I have to know everything that has ever happened and will ever happen. That is my anxiety. So to get this episode and then get nothing to explain it is unacceptable to me. And so I might get some more, but I don't think I'm going to get everything. And the fact that like this is not brought up and like the original, the prequels, the sequels, Rogue One, obviously Solo is not a Jedi story, but not mentioned there, not mentioned in Mando. Like, you have to give me something. That's how I feel about it. So overall, these episodes grade-wise, man, that Wolf in the Door one is fucking horrible. I'm going to give that one like a 4. I can't. This one, I mean, I don't think I can go past like a 9, which is really high, but like I wanted it to be so much higher. I thought Palpy was ridiculous.
Okay, like, wait, you wanted it to be so much high. What scale are you going on here?
Okay, so to me, the end of season 2 was a 10.
Okay, so when you say so much higher, you're literally talking about 1 point.
I'm talking about,
a lot of space in between those 1 point.
There can be.
There's a lot of space.
There can be, certainly.
There certainly is, especially because this is like nearing the end of the series. Like, I'm expecting you throw everything at me that you've got. This is like the big firework finale. And this did not. Like, it was stunning, and there were very, very, very high highs and very, very, very low lows, both of which are great, but not enough to get me that 10.
And that is okay.
It is okay, but I am worried. Like, I am worried that I'm going to be unsatisfied and that I'm going to be left with fucking who has a better story than Bran the Broken. Like, I don't want to be left with that. Spoiler alert. I don't want to be. And I don't want this to be that, because I've really loved this journey, and I've loved going on this journey with you and with the rest of our listeners and our friends. But if this ends up like Game of Thrones season 8, which I still enjoyed, my top episode is from Game of Thrones season 8, episode 2, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the most beautiful episode I've ever seen in my life. And then we got what we got. I don't want that to happen here. So I'm trying to like guard my heart and like believe and hope that it's not going to end up like that. But this episode made me worried.
No spoilers.
Nope, I can't. I will say, I mean, I think I always kind of interpreted this thing, because you're right, this is a pretty big lore mod to throw onto it.
Yeah.
At the 11th hour, I guess. Yes. Actually the 13th hour. And this season is it's shorter than the last two. Last two seasons have had 22 episodes. This one has, even if you count two-parters as two episodes, I think it's 16 total. It's either 15 or 16, depending on how you count the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So it is shorter, so you never know. And Rebels was also kind of, I think, always in that position where, like, not actually sure for getting the next season.
Right.
I think originally, especially when they set the start of it as 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, it would make sense that they were kind of hoping for a 5-season arc. So I can see some of your that barreling towards. Sounds to me, Flo, like you thought this season needed a couple of side quests.
Hell no. I think what I'm lacking here, and I think what I might be lacking with a lot of Rebels, is more of a connection to canon beyond Clone Wars. Like, I understand that we got Leia.
So Palpatine?
Well, but like that was just thrown in.
I'm
like
kidding.
I needed more of like a real one. Like I feel like the most that we got was like Lando. And it's like that's so tangential. Like we got some Vader, but like not in the latest seasons.
No, because he had to go and do other stuff. Vader's too powerful. Same with Ahsoka. They're like, we can't have them running around because they're too OP.
I'm worried about this World Between Worlds being like a strange retcon or like some sort of like weird thing that just like never gets mentioned again in canon. Yeah, it just feels very disconnected to the canon that I understand.
True, and I think it's a concept that they are going to ultimately build upon.
I think Filoni definitely wants to.
If you go back, and now again, this gets to, I mean, a little bit about what you said. Like, do they really notice? Did they really know where they were going? The symbols and stuff around those doors are actually peppered throughout several other series, several other episodes in Rebels. Like when Ezra gets his like face-to-face with Yoda, if you look at the circle he's sitting on, it's very much like one of those gateways. In Mando season 2, when Baby Yoda's like meditating on the rock and calling out on the thing, if you look at the carvings around the outside of the rock, they are very much reminiscent of one of those gateways. The Ahsoka show logo kind of has the symbol on her door as one of its design pieces. So I think they are going to try and explore this more.
I have to believe that, but like again, it's what, like a 7 years between when this came out and when the Ahsoka show is going to come out.
Yeah, kind of.
Like that's a long time to be like leaving people hanging on this.
Right.
And I mean, this might be a little bit of a retcon in my own head, but I kind of the way I always kind of interpret it is, okay, this is like a canon explanation almost of every time, you know, a Jedi is meditating and they hear the voice of one of their friends from the future.
Okay.
Luke is on Dagobah and he sees Leia and them in the clouds. He is somehow viewing through this, and this is just kind of a physical manifestation of that.
So I was actually wondering about that. And I wish that they had given me a little something that I could more easily link that to, because I was wondering, like, is this how Anakin had his Force dreams? Like, is this how he saw his mother? Is this how he saw, you know, Padme's future, quote unquote, that he would end up creating? Like, is he seeing it through this? Because that would link it to canon for me.
Which
and
I think
that is
with
the piece
all
I'm
of the
missing.
voices that you hear, and the fact that they are actually kind of jumbled does hint towards that. It's not that explicit. I definitely give you that. I definitely
They don't quite make the leap.
I needed them to make it though. Like I needed them to take that extra step and have something there that would explain, like, this is how, you know, Jedis can interact with the Force in this way. That 100% would have made it for me. But it was missing that, and therefore to me it's still disjointed. I agree. In my own head, that is what I believe, but the fact that it didn't say that to me, like, my head's not canon. My head is fan fiction, so
Yeah.
It's great fan fiction.
Your head is callous.
It is all callous all the time. It is just callous as a spy, doing like weird evasive maneuvers in spacecraft and like doing horrible things with those like canister things. So good. So good. You know what I'm talking about, Colleen.
I do. Get after that fan fiction.
Hey, girl.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think we're ready to head into our 6th holocron, which is our conjecture at the cantina. This is where we ask our questions about the episode and explore some wider Star Wars lore together. I'm going to
Too late. I already did.
Right. So much wide lore in Star Wars. The canon is wide. So I am going to start us out with, what did Dave Filoni and crew have to say about these episodes? Holy shit, there's a lot going on. Like, wow. Ahsoka's back. Palpatine is back up to his usual fucking shenanigans. But what exactly is he after in the World Between Worlds? Firstly, Pablo Hidalgo said that this type of excavation isn't done a lot, but it does show how invested Palpatine is in the arcane arts, how well it's kept secret. Like, nobody really knows what Palpatine is up to, except for people like Hayden. There are all these like secret ministers running around all these architectural sites and Jedi temples trying to find shit out. This wasn't part of the Rebels' mission, yet it seems more important than destroying the Defender factories, basically because of the cost that it could come from it. Filoni said that through his meticulous studies, Palpy discovered that there was a door that could lead him into a space where he could control time and change the will of the Force. Not great.
No,
not great for anyone. Bad, very bad. Ezra's voice actor, Taylor Gray, brought up something that Flo will definitely enjoy. He said that Dave Filoni explaining the World Between Worlds was actually much easier to follow than what the fuck the wolves are up to and how they utilize the Force. Even the voice actor is like, what?
Friends, let's all just agree now that the wolves are the worst.
No, I love the wolves.
No, you are incorrect in that take. That take.
Still rather have one of the wolves than the cats.
So I'm a big wolf person and a big like connections to nature person. And once the wolves showed up, I was like, yeah.
Girl, give me all the dire wolves, but these wolves, no.
I love them.
I love you to bits, but
oh my God, I love it.
We will differ on this forever.
Yes. I love it. But then Pablo Hidalgo came back and said basically the Force is basically deeper and more powerful than anyone can ever imagine. So that's what they were going for with the World Between Worlds. And Ezra just happened to be worthy of going in.
I mean, good for Ezra.
Yeah, exactly. Okay,
good for Ahsoka, who got saved.
Yeah, Ahsoka, big time. I think her show will have a lot to do with her dealing with why she was saved, like this kind of survivor's guilt, maybe. Like, what's her purpose? What does the Force want from her? What is she supposed to be doing? And I would love to see that in her show. Dave Filoni, that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
Is Ahsoka having to deal with this kind of stuff? Speaking of Ahsoka, this makes me laugh every single freaking time. Was it a mistake that Ian McDiarmid mispronounced her name? Or is this just another one of Palpy's like alpha dog flexes? Because I mean, he mispronounces it and he knows who she is. So this is kind of like, it reminds me of if you're on a date with a guy and all of a sudden you run into this other guy you used to date and you're like, oh, blah, 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 this is my friend, whoever. That person leaves and then the guy you're on the date with is like, oh, so how do you know Peter? And it's the wrong name. Like they're trying to undermine the person that you know already.
I could see it. I'm not going to lie, until I read this question, I didn't notice.
He says her first name wrong.
What did he call her?
I have to go back and listen to it again because like it's just not correct. It's not right.
I'm gonna say it's more of a mistake than I think it's
personally Ian McDiarmid.
Yeah,
just mispronounced it because he was not the voice of Palpatine in Clone Wars, so he wouldn't know probably. But I just love to think that it's Palpatine just being a dick.
I mean, that tracks.
It does.
Yeah.
So it
like,
has even if it is a mistake, it has a canon explanation.
That's right.
Exactly. I'm here for it. I'm like, yeah, he's an asshole. So of course he is. As Ahsoka's like, but you know me. You almost convicted me to death for real. Okay, that's my last question.
That's your thing. All right. All right. Here's my one question about these episodes. So they are watching Kanan's moment, and Ahsoka drives home. Kanan knew that this is where he had to be right in this moment. And we know from just a few episodes ago, what he is doing in this moment is holding the fire back with the Force. Mm-hmm. So he's basically just doing a Force push. That's the bare bones of it. So we also know from just a few minutes later that Palpy is like using Force magic or whatever through the gateway in some manner.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Yes, it was necessary. They needed to let go. I understand that from a story perspective, but this is my type of Ravenclaw brain, the little problem solver. Let's actually think this through. Could Ezra and Ahsoka together have used the Force through the gateway and figured out a way to save Kanan? In theory, at this point, they have all of time to figure it out because of where they are.
Until Palpatine.
That's a great point.
Could they have combined, held the fire back, and pulled Kanan through, thus completing that mission?
Okay, so I guess my question with this is when he was saving Ahsoka, and even when they see Kanan, it felt like there was a sense of urgency. I have to do this now because this moment will pass. But I guess, I agree with you. They could, in theory, just rewind it, right? Because time is not real here.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah,
yeah, it's hard to say.
That's obviously not the point, but
no, but it is the one thing I'm always thinking about. When they're you can't do anything. I'm like, really?
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the time
literally just pulled Ahsoka out of an explosion.
Yeah. Palpatine coming really is the thing that set everything off. Some people ask whether he should have saved Ahsoka, and it's well, it's kind of the will of the Force because Morai is the daughter and leads Ezra there to save her. So it's very much Mortise Gods, light side energy trying to save Ahsoka here.
And we do know that, we've known for a while, at least in theory, that Ahsoka survived. We get that small clip of her at the end of Twilight of the Apprentice. And this, at least, I think, provides an explanation of why she hasn't come back, why they haven't mentioned her or whatnot. Because they don't know she survived. So from her, Ezra says, "We thought you died." So from her perspective, that means I have to, quote unquote, stay dead in order for everything to happen the way it's supposed to happen. Right.
Because she most likely gets pushed back to exactly after the temple has collapsed. Right. So it's big time loop stuff. They don't deal with time loop stuff very often in Star Wars, which is a good thing. A very good thing. I think Ahsoka might be the only one.
I think this is pretty much the only one that we have.
That I can think
Again, this is a dangerous precedent that makes me nervous.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Which is why I'm glad that it's so difficult to get into. Not just anybody can waltz into the world between worlds. And you have to have the proper gateway too. So
just the fact that one person did makes me nervous. So
especially since it's Ezra.
Yeah, 100%.
The planet deemed him worthy. Made him the master of death.
Kind of.
Ooh.
More Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, everybody. Well, just like when Harry becomes the master of death, it kind of signals the end. And guys, we only have one podcast episode left of Rebels.
I can't believe that.
We're doing the final 3 episodes. We will not have it next week because that's Thanksgiving, but we will be back the week after that with not only our season 4 coverage, but the entire series coverage. That is when we will conclude it all. What will Ezra and the Ghost Crew do? Will everyone be with us at the end?
If Callus is not, I am going to throw myself off the bridge. If they like waited all this time just to kill off Callus, I'm gonna freak.
I cannot wait for Flo to see the end of the series. I am really excited about
the only thing I'll say is I think that the finale will be very profitable.
Oh God. Oh God. Unless they kill Hondo. If they kill Hondo and that's the reason why you said that, I'll be very happy.
I don't think I'd be able to make it through that episode.
I mean,
all right, well, guys, until next time, though, follow us wherever you're getting your podcast. Leave us those 5-star reviews. Check out our website at bohemiangeekstudies.com, where you can watch all of our episodes. You can enjoy Colleen's Book Corner, where she reviews Star Wars literature, and reach out to us on email and social media. And as always, keep telling other nerdy knights to join us. That really does help. You can also head over to ForgottenEntertainment.com. Check out all the offerings from the Forgotten Entertainment family, including yet another Star Wars podcast where we examine different facets of Star Wars canon. And we are currently making our way through the newly released Star Wars Visions. But until then, the lightsabers up, keep those episodes streaming, and happy Life Day, everybody.
Oh my God, stop it with that. The worst. Don't watch it.